Hello everyone, welcome to Rainmakers Roundup. I'm your host Mark Iorio. I've got Bernard Williams with me. Bernard is the founder of Company Counsel. Welcome, my friend. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Really happy to be here.
Well, you've been back. I mean, now you were on Team Talk a while back, and now I know Milt will listen to this. Now you hit the big time, man.
I've made it.
You made it, man. You're on Rainmakers Roundup now, bud. That's great. Great to have you. I'm glad. You know, it was a little traffic this morning, right? So coming from East Falls, it was.
That's right.
Always on the Schuylkill, right? It's always a mess.
You know, and it's unpredictable, except that you can always predict traffic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bernard, tell us a little bit about Company Counsel. Company Counsel, and the what you do for your clients.
Sure. Company Counsel is a small business law firm, and we're located in Greater Philadelphia, actually just in Bala Cynwyd, across City Line Avenue from Philadelphia. And our focus is on helping small businesses to succeed and to grow without encumbrance. So what we do is we help with things like contracts. We'll help to draft and negotiate and review contracts for our clients. We'll help with intellectual property. To make sure that our client's brand is protected in the marketplace. We will help with formations and to make sure that when our clients start out from the very beginning with their small businesses, that they're building on solid ground, so that as they grow, they're protected and they're positioned to be very successful. Essentially, all the kinds of things that a small business needs from a legal perspective as they grow from the very beginning of their company to maturation, to eventually, in some cases, even selling the company. All the legal things along the way, we're positioned to help them with.
You know, as you're telling me this, and we've talked about this a number of times, most attorneys are focused on one or two things with their clients, and it seems to me that Company Counsel is, you know, you're offering so much, an array of services for your clients, which is what I think makes you so unique and so different. What was your impetus behind starting Company Counsel and crafting it so that the small businesses and mid-sized businesses that you're dealing with have access to all those other skill sets?
Yeah, it was crafted really with the clients in mind. And if you don't mind, let me give you a little bit of the backstory of the evolution of Company Counsel.
Great, yeah.
So when I graduated from law school eons ago, my initial job was as a clerk with a federal court, and that was amazing. But after that, I began my private law career.
Right.
And my first job was as a law firm associate at a very large, prestigious law firm in Manhattan. And it was an amazing learning experience, and I'll leave it at that. Phenomenal learning experience, and I went on to have several other great learning experiences in the area of big law over the next several years.
Yeah.
What I found was that as much as I was learning, it wasn't quite the right fit for me.
Right.
And that I really wanted to feel like I was helping people, like I was making a difference, like I was making an impact.
Yeah.
And that part felt missing. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I intended to leave the practice of law behind altogether. And my idea was to start a tutoring and test prep business where I would help high school kids to succeed through education.
Right.
So I started that, and it didn't quite go as well as I had hoped. The millions never quite came. I helped a few kids, probably a few hundred kids actually,
yeah.
But it never quite took off. The silver lining, in addition to helping the kids that I did, the silver lining was that for the first time I was immersed in the small business community. I had a retail shop, I had a landlord, I had small business peers, and I got to see all the things that my fellow entrepreneurs were dealing with, and all the struggles that they were having, and all the mistakes that they were making.
Right.
So, long story a little bit shorter, I formed Company Counsel as a response to that, as a way for all my compatriots in the small business community to have access to resources and advice to help them to navigate this legal minefield, to focus on what they actually want to do, and let the attorneys, let the law firm handle everything else.
That's smart. I mean, I think that's brilliant because oftentimes, as an entrepreneur, I started my business 35 years ago, and I cannot tell you, Bernard, over the last 35 years, how many times, not so much recently because I sold most of the practice off, but or most of the business off. How many times I thought, I'm going to call my attorney, but I don't want to get whacked with a $575 an hour fee, right?
Right.
And so you sort of back away from that. But company counsel's not built that way. You tell us. I mean, it really is. You're offering so many services to these clients that they have an array of things to pick from or choose from, and it's not always. You have expertise in all these areas, right? Or company counsel does. Right?
Well, yeah, that's an important distinction. I personally don't, but we're definitely a team in every sense of the word, and,
Right.
and certainly those are all our core competencies as a unit, as a team. You're right, we're structured differently. One of the things that I saw in big law is that the clients that we're serving were Fortune 100 companies in a lot of cases. They could afford to pay our very exorbitant legal bills. But the kinds of clients that I have now are very much on a budget. And in fact, in most cases, they don't even have a legal budget. They haven't anticipated legal needs. So they're having to find money out of nowhere, out of their profit margin.
Right.
If anywhere, to pay for these services. One of the things that I saw happening in the small business community was exactly what you described. An individual who owned a business would realize they were at an impasse. They would realize that they were facing a legal challenge. And they would have to do that cost-benefit analysis and say, well, gosh, I'm not sure how much this is going to be if I ask my attorney to give me some support with this, or if I ask him a question. Oh, what if he has to do research? That could be hours.
Right.
And at a high hourly rate, that can add up. It can be unpredictable, and that can maybe I can't afford that. Maybe I'll just Google this, or maybe I'll ask my my cousin Larry,
right,
or take a stab in the dark, or whatever.
Yeah.
As soon as business owners are having to make that cost-benefit analysis of, can I afford to get the advice that I need to run my company in a way that's legal,
Yep.
And in a way that protects myself and my family and my shareholders, and in a way that positions me for growth. You shouldn't have to make that cost-benefit analysis. That should be something that every small business owner has access to, and has the ability to use to his or her advantage.
You said something to me last time we talked about anticipating things. You can anticipate things for clients that they might not ordinarily see, right? There's problems that might be around the bend that you can help them uncover, and if they don't go to someone like you, company counsel, and understand what pitfalls they can uncover down the road, there could be a disaster, right? So I think that's that tipping point that I think a lot of people, the viewing audience could see that. Pick up the phone, call Bernard, because you can't. LegalZoom's not going to help you, right? And business in a box is not going to help you.
I've gotten a lot of clients from LegalZoom. I don't think they know that, but
right.
But a lot of my clients started out with LegalZoom.
Sure, exactly. Why do you have such a passion for doing what you do? What exactly is it that makes you feel so good about helping these entrepreneurs, these clients? Is it because you are an entrepreneur and you took a stab at it before, or?
Yeah, in part it's that I can really relate. I remember the struggles, and I still have some of those same struggles as an entrepreneur now.
Yeah.
But particularly when I was first starting out and when I had my previous business that wound up needing to be closed.
Yeah.
I remember what it was like to. I remember the difficulties and the challenges, and sometimes the feeling of the feeling that there was nobody that I could go to for support. So I want to be that support for other people.
It's not so much helplessness as it is that you really don't know where to turn, and when people are at an impasse and you don't know where to go, you should reach out to Bernard. It's important. Can you share with us a particularly proud moment or a case study that someone that you've helped in the past that, was really going down a bad path or potentially a really disastrous path, and you were able to sort of rewrite the ship for them?
Sure. What we love to do, what we prefer to do, is help our clients before they get into trouble. We'd like to be on the front side of that and to try to put things in place that can proactively protect them from conflict or from disaster.
Yep.
And that's normally what we focus on. But inevitably, people come to us when a conflict has already come up, or when they're already mired in some sort of a dispute, when they're already facing some sort of seemingly insurmountable legal challenge. And I think that it's in those situations that I see the most immediate look of relief on my client's face.
Yeah.
Because when we come in, we change the dynamic immediately.
Yeah.
And because of our experience in litigation, in commercial litigation, in very high stakes litigation, we're able to anticipate what happens in lawsuits, to tee things up so that our client, who oftentimes is the underdog in these situations, finds themselves much better positioned as time goes on than they were when we first met them. Just a quick example. A few years ago, I was representing a woman who was the guarantor of a hair salon. That hair salon was found itself in a legal conflict involving a slip and fall lawsuit where everybody was sued, the salon owner, the landlord, and the guarantor. And the landlord sued the salon owner for lack of insurance. A lot of facts that, if I were to tell you all the facts of this case, you would just be horrified by some of the treatment that the salon owner had received by the landlord and that the guarantor had received by the landlord. Long story, a little bit shorter. When I got in, we were able to negotiate a settlement where the person who had been the victim of the slip and fall was paid by the landlord, and the salon owner and the guarantor were able to go on and continue conducting their business, and they didn't have to declare bankruptcy.
Wow.
They didn't have to go out of business. And it was looking like all those things were going to come to pass before we entered into the situation.
Right.
So just coming in and changing the dynamic and providing support to people who need that support just is always an amazing feeling.
And it's always best to go into a situation where it looks like you're at loggerheads and you end up settling, and that is so much better than going through litigation. I mean, it's litigation is like eating a half a sandwich. It's both sides taste really bad. How do you find new clients? What's the process behind finding new clients, Bernard? Is it mostly reputation at this point? I mean, that's the hardest thing to do as an entrepreneur, right? Is to find new customers, new clients.
It can be a challenge. Yeah, we've been fortunate. Luckily we've grown every year that we've been in business.
Good.
And really, it's been a matter of, I think, reputation in some senses. People are starting to recognize the name Company Counsel.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is word of mouth. It's referrals. It's happy clients referring their peers.
Yeah.
It's really grown organically. We haven't really done much in the way of paid advertising or anything.
Well, I hope our interview today just helps with that, because a lot of people view that. I think I told you yesterday when we were chatting on the phone that the Team Talk interview that we did got an amazing number of views. I'm astounded as to how big your network is, and I guess mine as well. But it is, for those who are.
Well, don't forget Milton.
Oh, Milton. Who's that? He's not here. But yeah, Milton as well. So it was really cool to see that, because it just exploded. I mean, all of a sudden, there were hundreds, and then there were thousands.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that. That's great.
No, it was very cool. Okay. All right, we're going to have to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back with more from Bernard Williams from Company Counsel right after this message from our sponsors. Don't go away.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Welcome back to Rainmakers Roundup. I'm your host, Mark Iorio, along with Bernard Williams. Bernard is the founder and CEO of Company Counsel in Ballackinwood. But are you all over the country, or are you doing work all over the United States?
We're regional. We're licensed to practice in Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey.
Okay, yeah. You were talking about reputation and building a client base, and I just want to take you back to that spot when you first started the business, and after you had a business that wasn't successful. And we've all been there. I mean, you feel like the money's going to come in, the revenue's going to come in, and it doesn't come in the way you want it to. Where did you go for your first clients when you first started the company?
Well, so when I was running my my former business, the tutoring company.
Yeah, sure.
I heard about an organization, a networking group called BNI.
Good. Yeah.
And I thought it was a fantastic idea, a great way to meet a diverse group of people, a diverse group of professionals who are interested in passing business and helping you to become known.
Yeah.
So when I went back to practicing law and began building my business, that's the first place that I went. I wanted to be connected and part of the network, and it's been, ever since, it's been a really good home base for meeting people and getting involved in the community.
Yeah, it's smart. BNI is a great organization. If you were to look back, Bernard, and look at we'll just call them missteps maybe that you've made, even before Company Counsel, what are the things that you think you would have done differently?
That's such a tricky thing to answer, because on the one hand, I can write a book about all the mistakes that I made, and I think I probably will at some point.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I mean, I'm here for a reason. And
a book about that, right?
A multi-volume set. J.K. Rowling says nothing on me.
Right. Love her.
So, on the one hand, I can see all the mistakes, and I can see where I went wrong. But on the other hand, all those mistakes led me to where I am now.
Yeah.
And I like where I am now.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I would actually change anything. It's like the whole time travel dilemma. If you go back and you change anything, what ripple effect does that have in the future?
Yeah, I agree with you. I love it when I ask that question and I get that sort of an answer, because you're right. I mean, the things that we've done in the past have made us who we are today. And if we changed one thing, it could have altered the entire direction that we've taken in our lives, and that's not always great. But so in that same sort of line of questioning, right? So let's say you're not that old, man. You got some gray hair on your chin, but if you were talking to a younger Bernard Williams right now, what advice would you give him?
I would tell him to stay in shape while he still can. Invest in Bitcoin.
Oh, there you go. Exactly. I love that. I love that. Yeah. Like a lot.
I would tell him to enjoy the experience. I think younger me and current me is always looking ahead and is always striving for continuous improvement and for looking for that next challenge. And sometimes I think I can be guilty of not enjoying the moment because I'm looking ahead or I'm trying to improve.
I think that's the curse of an entrepreneur, Bernard. A lot of times we do that. We tend to look ahead and not enjoy what we've currently accomplished or what's in front of us. We tend to I'd like to step back and look at the building that we've built, And
I rarely do that.
You rarely do that, right?
Very rarely do that. Yeah. I'm looking. I prefer to look ahead than to look back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'd probably tell myself to look back more. Maybe older me will tell 45-year-old me at some point that I should be doing that.
I think you've done a remarkable job. I really am. I'm very impressed with. I've done this for Rainmakers for 4.5 years, and I am confident that there's no one that has a business model like yours. It's, I interview people every week, and I've run my business for 35 years, and I look at what you've accomplished and what what Company Counsel means and how you've built it. And I just admire, I admire what you've been able to do because, when we were 85 people and I thought I could afford the big, the big law firms, and then you get this invoice and it's like, how do you possibly sleep at night charging me what you charge me? And then I listen to someone like you who says, most entrepreneurs, most companies out there they don't have a legal budget. And so the money comes out of cash flow. And for you to think through that, I really admire that. And I think that's just a great business model. So,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Where do you find inspiration? Where does that all come from?
I find inspiration all the time from various places. From my wife, for example, who works harder than I do.
It's good that you said that because this is recorded.
Okay, good. But it's true. I mean, she's there are times where I feel like I'm working hard and I'm ready to call it quits, and then I'll glance over at her home office and see that she's still plugging away.
Yeah.
And and maybe get back to it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I realize that my work really isn't done yet.
That's cool.
But there are other inspirations as well. There's I grew up being a big sports fan, so a lot of the way that I think is kind of through the lens of sport and athletics.
Sure.
So I'll look at a man like a Brian Dawkins, who was one of my all-time favorite Eagles.
Wow.
Not just because of the amazing things that he did on the field, but even more so because of his character and because of his inspiration and because of the kinds of things that he says and does off the field to make a difference. I had the privilege of seeing him speak last week, and there was a Q&A, and someone asked him whether or not he would ever consider coaching. And the reason that he said that that coaching may not be in the cards right now is that by coaching, he would have an impact on maybe 8 to 10 people at a time.
Yeah.
Whereas by being outside of that building, he could have an impact on whole communities at once. And when I hear people like that talk, and when I hear what he cares about and what matters to him, I think my work's not done. I need to go out and I need to do my thing and amplify my resources and my help so that the broadest groups of people possible are affected and positively impacted.
Yeah. That's inspirational to me. I mean, I look at you and think to myself, you've got this business, this successful company, and what are you thinking about? You're thinking about helping others, and that to me is, there's nothing better than that, my friend. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks so much. It's
You're
great
welcome.
to be here.
Please take a look into that camera, I think right there, and tell us how to get in touch with you.
Sure. You can reach me at companycounsel.law. That's our email. That's our website address. You can also give us a call at 484-325-5660.
Awesome. Thanks, Bernard.
Thank you.
That was a pleasure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for Rainmakers Roundup. Great interview with Bernard. Please take a look at Company Counsel. Company Counsel Law?
Companycounsel.law.
.law, okay. And they are in Bala Cynwyd, but regional. So please take a look when you have a moment and connect with Bernard on LinkedIn. All right, that's a wrap for Rainmakers Roundup. Have a wonderful week, everyone. We'll see you soon. Take care.